I'm Casey Kulla, Yamhill County Commissioner. We have Mayor Rachel King from the city of Amity. We have Mayor Linda Watkins from the city of Carlton. And we have Mayor Rick Rogers from the city of Newberg. Welcome, everybody. First of all, it was so great, by the way, Mayor Watkins, to be in your community and to see your water projects that are in need of help with funding and the work that you've already done. So thank you for hosting all of us.
We were so thrilled to have you there. That was just really great. It was a nice bump for our public works people too, because they do a huge amount of work. So it was just a really wonderful to have you. Thanks.
That's great.
Thank you for organizing these and for everybody in the county. I think we appreciate it.
Yeah, well, it was super exciting to see the kind of the work that the city has been doing, where they need help, and kind of where the future work lies, even if we didn't see much of your water system. Next spring,
we'll have the road open. Trust me, you don't want to try to go on that road now, but next spring that'll be different. So we'll have
that sounds great.
Go for a rerun.
Yeah, and so Carlton, the city of Dayton, and the Palmer Creek Water District or Irrigation District were our last three visits of the water system tours so far. And then Fritz Graham from Senator Wyden's office and Betsy Emery from Markley's office and I are going to sit down and kind of go over the projects that they've seen and kind of where they fit into congressionally directed spending. And, there's all these federal programs, and they wanted to just sit down and look through the list and say, okay, let's reach out to the city of Amity about this one, which has funding in it. And, existing programs at the federal government, let's reach out to the city of Carlton about this project funding group. So that'll be what we'll do next. And then in early December, the plan is to have a meeting where Fritz and Betsy explain to city managers, water system operators, and to you all how to fill out the congressionally directed spending application so that you have the highest chance of scoring some funding for your community. So that was really exciting. The one thing that so after leaving Carlton, then we went to the Palmer Creek Irrigation District. And because they have, because they're not set up as a taxing district, they have a hard time fitting into existing programs. But they said that in 2015, the estimate was that from this 5,800 acres of irrigated ground, kind of in the Dayton Prairie is what they call it, that the farm gate value was $500 million in 2015, and the annual farm gate value, and the annual farm gate value has increased pretty dramatically of late there. But to put that in perspective, all of Oregon's farm gate value in a year is $5 billion. So just the 2015 dollars is 10% of the 2020 farm gate value, which is incredible to think that that's just right back here, or just west or just east of Amity, as it were. Yes, Mayor. Or sorry, yes, Linda, Mayor.
I don't care, whatever. Did you say that?
Well, there's three of you.
Oh, yeah. Linda, Mayor, yeah. Did you say that was 5,800 acres or 58,000?
Yes. Yeah, it's 5,800.
That's amazing.
Isn't that remarkable?
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, the math works out. It's high value farmland, and the dominant crop on that ground is, it's blueberries and it's raspberries, it's cherries, and it's nursery stock. So very high value crops that are being irrigated on ground that, when we did the tour of their failing dam, this is the last dam in a series of 8, they pointed out that the ground, if it didn't have water rights, would essentially be valueless. not truly, but it would be growing the lowest value commodity crops that we have in the county. Just incredible. Yeah. But so what we'll do is we'll do a follow-up, and then we'll make sure that all of us get connected with all the cities. But in the meantime, I think that maybe Mayor Rogers and maybe Mayor King didn't hear that the county approved, or the county commissioners approved, the grant program like structure for water and sewer infrastructure. So it'll be open, I believe, the 8th of November. And then it'll close on the 8th of December. So we're going to try to do a fast turnover so that cities have their cash on hand for their projects the first of the year, which is screaming fast for government, just as you know.
And Casey, how much money are you guys going to distribute?
6.8 million. And so the largest, it's like up to 200,000 for planning and engineering, up to 500,000 for capital, for just like if you're, if the city of Amity is like, we're building a tank and the 500,000 is going to the tank. And then up to $1 million for our portion of a project, of a complete project. And then there is a match, but the match goes up based upon the scale of the project. And the match, like as we noted in a conversation with the city of Amity, the match can be staff time, right? Because there's a lot of staff administrative time.
And also, county staff already reached out, at least to our city administrator last week. So
yes, Carrie and other folks really wanted to make sure you knew that it was happening. Yeah, and then this week we will actually be. At our Thursday meeting, we'll be discussing and hopefully setting in motion a grant program for broadband expansion. So, last year we set aside, or we granted $500,000 to Online Northwest for their 4-tower program, where they're building 4 new towers. And then we have almost $2 million from the state, and then $1 million from the federal government set aside for another expansion broadband. And unfortunately, it's not gonna, it doesn't really get anywhere near covering the whole county, but it's making progress on the deficit of internet access that we have. So that's exciting for us. All right. Well, I would love to start then. I don't need to talk so much, but I'd love to start and hear from Mayor Rogers. What would you like to share with your community and with us?
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Commissioner Kulla. Thank you so much, Mayor King. We haven't met, but it's very nice to meet you. So anyway, and I don't know if it's congratulations or condolences on being mayor, but it's one of those things, So, in fact, which reminds me, since you brought it up, there's 3 of us here. What is a group of mayors called? I don't know, a bureaucracy of mayors, maybe, or it's not a murder of mayors. Those are crows. But anyway.
I want to say gaggle.
A gaggle. Yes, we could be a gaggle. That could very well be true. That'd be true. Anyway, so Newberg, what's going on? Well, I just did a city club presentation just a couple of minutes ago. And, in Newberg, we could talk about, we could talk just like all the rest of these communities. Well, you don't all have all of what Newberg has currently, but anyway, we could talk about divisiveness. We could talk about the school board. We could talk about, of course, COVID. We could talk about general divisiveness, and staff turnover. So the big news here is that our city manager did resigned as of the end of October. So that's constitutes a change for us, certainly. And so, but I'll tell you, and I think that the public should know this, is that, once we knew that Dan was going to resign, we did speak to all the department heads and then to all of his direct reports. And I've got to say that every person, to a person, said, here where it's okay. We're gonna keep working. We know our jobs. We're gonna keep it going. And they were all very, very gracious as to, who would serve as interim. So we did choose Monday night. We chose Will Worthy. So he's our actually library director. He will be our interim at least for 6 months and potentially, I think Will's given us up to a year, but then he says, after that, I want to get back to my library and forget all the rest of this stuff. So, but Will, if you don't know him, he's a great guy. His background is library, but a lot of other things as well, including he did a stint in the British Army. He's actually originally from Scotland. So Will's a good guy, and I'm sure he'll keep us in good shape going through. But us, like probably every other community, hiring is a challenge, retaining obviously is a challenge. And that's, as we know, that's not just municipal government, that's all forms of employment, apparently. So those are some of the things. But even with that, there's a lot of good things going on that, between the riverfront, urban renewal, downtown revitalization, et cetera, things are moving forward. So we're happy for that. And we're starting to talk about the ARPA money that we received and where that's going to go. So, and of course, as all of you know as well, there's more need than there is money. So for us, 5 million sounds like a lot, but I don't know, we probably have requests that, are 10 times that probably. So anyway, but that's exciting. It'll be fun to work through that with the community, and that's basically what we're up to at the moment. So thank you, Casey.
I have so many questions for you, Mayor, but I bet the other mayors have questions for you as well. Right. Oh no, Mayor Watkins says no.
No questions.
No questions. How about Mayor King? I don't want to just barrage him, but without offering an alternative.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Okay, so Mayor, then what are some of the possible, at least like areas of spending for the American Rescue Plan dollars, and do any of them include the pipes for the House Bill 2001, densification? Because that was one where I was like, oh, right. Right. Cities actually have to find a way to pay for the infrastructure to have more homes.
Yeah, so HB 2001, the guy had an update last night at City Council about the status of duplex, triplexes, and quads. We're winding through all of it. Actually, just recently, we just heard last night that we passed the 25,000 population threshold. So 25,128 or something like that. That's a number that's going to be verified by Portland State. But that also puts us in a new threshold. So technically, we weren't really required to do this HB 2001, but we were also at 24,900 people, and 25,000 was the cutoff. So fortunately, we've already undertaken most of that. It's well in the way. And the interesting thing with that, and as you all know, my day job is housing stuff. So it's interesting with all of that, and all the communities that are currently putting this stuff in place, they project at best a 3% increase in housing stock. So it's 3%. So that's, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of lifting. And it's interesting too, and I want to clarify one thing for people that might be listening in. This only allows these things, what it is it allows duplex, triplex, quads on any residential zoning in the community. So it allows it, but I need to underscore it allows it. It doesn't mean that it's immediately going to happen. And it really comes back to what the developer or the owner of the property sees as the future of that. So anyway, so that was a clarification. I know last night at City Council, that was a question for folks and all, because again, it's, Oregonians, right? Density versus sprawl. So there we go. So, yeah.
Truly. Okay, that's good clarification. And you don't have to put the pipes in the ground bigger, the water pipes and the sewer pipes, just because you now have the zoning. You could lay that all on a person who wants to tear down their old house and build a quad, right? I mean,
right. Yeah.
It just wouldn't happen then.
Yeah, and our area with the pipes, particularly the infrastructure, is really the urban renewal area. So really south of town to the riverfront. That's the area that we're in most need. So hopefully we'll pick up a bunch of that once urban renewal gets moving forward. So,
and I believe that there's a plan for it.
Yes, sir. Yes, there is a plan.
Is it a plan that's subject to public disclosure yet?
Well, I mean, the projects included in the urban renewal those are public at this point. So yeah. There's a whole flock of those. And the only thing we're doing now is looking, as you know, Commissioner, we're looking at the area that covers the urban renewal. So particularly with Rogers Landing and the old landfill, those are the areas that we're looking. Speaking of which, Commissioner, now that I think about it, at City Club, there was a suggestion that, yeah, I know, right? There was a suggestion about Rogers Landing. And I immediately said, County commissioners, defer to the county. No, but somebody said, wouldn't it be nice if there was more of a park feature at Rogers Landing for all the families that are now going down there? So there you go. I have passed it along. So
I love it. I love it.
Yep.
Well, I just got an upset note from our Parks Advisory Committee for how slowly the park updates are going and repairs at the Dayton Landing. So our Parks Advisory Committee has their focus elsewhere at the moment. But I do think it's a really good point because there's spaces at Rogers Landing that either could be used better or could be put to use that aren't currently doing anything.
And not to sort of lament water under the bridge or water past the dock, as it were. But, had we not been reviewing this, urban renewal money might have been able to be directed to a place like Rogers Landing, say. But, we'll
Very good point. Very good point. We still, I'm a person like you, like, no is just like, okay, maybe in terms of, things that are important to the community, right? Because people, that people in your community want to have park spaces and they want to have access to the river. Yeah. And then speaking of that, I wanted to ask you, I noticed that when you drive on the bypass and when you drive on like Weatherly, I forget all the names there. One of the old hazelnut orchards is now totally gone. It's in between the bypass and the old landfill. And so is that going to be housing too, or is that just a
No, that's my understanding is that is going to be housing. I believe the Wilcotts own that property as well. So, and whether they themselves are going to develop it or they're going to plan to sell it, and as they did with the other one on Waverly on the other side, they sold the majority of that to a builder. So yeah, that's what I understand.
Apparently I just have housing questions for you then, because my next one is, so Crestview Crossing is so big.
It is.
Can you give us any sense of, are there considerations for the community? What should people be watching for? Are there going to be new connections on roads and streets? That whole thing. And for Mayor, Crestview Crossing is right across from Providence, like towards Chehalem Mountain.
Yeah. The main work that's going on right now is actually with the signalization right at Providence Drive and 99. So that will be actually the northern arterial for the community. So it'll go through there and up as if you're heading up to the Allison and North Springbrook. So that'll give us the northern access that we've lacked forever. So this has been a project that's been in the work for many years. The state's been involved, et cetera. And the developer on this project is involved with it, as well as are the Austins and the owners of ADAC, et cetera. So that will be the main road there. But that'll all hopefully be tied in. And I talked to the project manager recently, and they're hoping that won't be too far before they can get that signal open and going. So, but thank you for the question. Yeah, 200, wow. I think 200 units and about 5 acres of commercial. The burning question in Newberg is whether or not we're going to get I think people, what does everybody want? They want not a Whole Foods. They want Trader Joe's. That's the one everybody's advocating for. But we have no say in what goes in there. We just approve the permits, I think so.
Totally. Well, that is going to be a really big change from having all the traffic coming down Springbrook to the Big Light.
Right.
And I will say that just putting on my individual's hat here, wherever my hat is, that intersection with Fred Meyer and up onto the grocery store, it's Springbrook and 99. It's so massive that as a human on the landscape, it's very intimidating to just be like a person walking. And that's just me needing to take that up with ODOT, but it's very beyond the scale of a person.
Yeah, and that's absolutely right. And it really is the one thing on Springbrook, and the part of the problem there is going north is the intersection to go into like Safeway and that area there, and that's just horrible every day. Don't try that at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when ADEC's getting out. Don't try it; you'll be there forever. So this will really alleviate that as well. So, but yeah.
And the reason the mayor says that is there's a four-way stop there, just like in the middle of the road, as it were. I mean, of course it's in the middle of the road, but yeah. It's really shocking actually when you're there, because you're like, sorry, Mayor King.
This is only a semi-related question. So phase 3 of the bypass, when that ever comes to be, where does that meet up?
Mayor Rogers knows, but yeah. So I think, and Casey, correct me if I'm wrong, but we start the fishhook in Dundee. So where it currently terminates now will continue, and it goes all the way to the intersection with 18, right, is where we're looking. So that way. So that'll be phase 3 to that point, I think.
And if you can picture it, like there's a wide area when you're arcing on Highway 18 coming to the McDougal corner intersection, there's like blueberries on one side, and then this large area of grass that looks like, why is there just a large area of grass there? That's going to be the interchange. So it's in the right of way, which is why it hasn't been, they haven't put hazelnuts into it. So it'll basically stay on the south side of the railroad tracks, kind of all the way from Dundee to that intersection.
And then the east side, will that stay the same, where that runs into Springbrook, correct? And 99, as it is now?
Yeah. So what we're calling, I guess, phase 2A and 2B. So 2B, I think it is the intersection of 219 Winooski Road and Wilsonville Road. So that area which is all sort of a mess right now because of how they coming in at different angles and all. So that we've got money for. So that will be under construction in the not too distant future. So that's going through through all the design phases now. And then the next phase, A or B, whichever it is, will be from 219 up to 99. So behind the hospital, behind Fred Meyer in that area. So, yeah.
Thank you for that clarification. There's been a lot of A's and B's and first. So thank you.
That's true, of course.
And it's essentially just uphill from A to Z winery. Am I correct on that, Mayor?
Just south, it's where below it, I think, slightly below.
Oh, it's just below it. Okay. Yeah. Is the intersection. And there's like multiple intersections, right? Because of how there's 2 major highways that are going to come together, plus all the side streets.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that's exciting about that is that in addition to the bypass, there's also the trails that are associated with the bypass. So I was actually speaking with the folks from Parks and Rec yesterday, and they did get funding to do a trail from 219 to Rogers Landing, which essentially mostly means building a bridge over Hess Creek in that area. But the idea is that at one point that trail will go up to 99 and then up the hill on that side of Parrot Mountains that way, but also all the way to Dundee and further. So that's pretty exciting. That will be very cool. So
it is very exciting.
Yep.
I was trying to get all the money at once so that we could do all the way from Fred Meyer and Newberg to Dundee, and other people thought that was too ambitious. I'll just say,
hey, you got to try, right? But yeah, speaking of ARPA money, in our meeting with Parks and Rec yesterday, they were certainly willing. They were happy to take some ARPA money, I'm sure, for the trail. So we'll see.
That's a good point. I'm glad that they're looking everywhere.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear about the city manager. And I wish you the best in this like transition and interim and hiring. And we all know how valuable a really good, competent city manager is. And I'm looking at Mayor Watkins because she is clearly very happy to have Shannon on staff. So, Okay, well, thank you very much. Mayor King, what would you like to share with people today, besides the fact that Friday maybe is pediatric vaccine availability?
Yes, I heard that Oregon is expecting 180,000 doses, and most of those are expected to have a want and be used. So that is exciting. I will just say we did our pumpkin giveaway, and that was super successful. 60 pumpkins within 3 hours. We had to close down a little early, but we had at least 25, 30 families. Very happy about that. We have a council meeting tomorrow, and we'll announce some winners from our pumpkin decorating contest. So hopefully we'll have a large crowd waiting to hear those results. And then really towards the end of this year, we do have some holiday stuff coming up that I'll be able to share soon, but we're just gearing up because we have a lot of projects that will be getting underway at the beginning of the year. I think we'll be bidding on 3 major projects in the first quarter of the year having to do with our water system. And so really there's a lot of day-to-day stuff going on and a lot of planning, but really that's going to keep everyone in the city pretty busy.
Oh, it sure will. So congratulations. That was great. I got to say that when we were in the city of Dayton doing their water tour, they are so glad to have the digital meters swapped out with their old meters. So yay for you all doing that work too. It's just been tremendous. They actually have like a readout where they can just monitor in their office when there's a leak alert on meters. And so then they just send people a bill, and then they go and they check, or they send them a warning or like a notice like, hey, we think you have a leak, check on it on your side of the meter. And then they can do work on their side of the meter. They said it's just been incredible that they, I think that depending upon the day, they either have are saving 75 or 100,000 gallons a day just because of that meter work.
Yeah, with our old meters, they were checked once a month. And so someone could be losing hundreds of thousands of gallons. And it was only once a month that we could hang a little, door reader like, hey, you might have a leak. So it makes a huge difference to be able to see that in real time. And on a personal note, my bill came and my meter read 3,000 gallons less used. So hopefully a lot of people get that and not the other way. But regardless, it will be good to have accurate readings.
Totally. And I forget, but you were warning people, right, that they may have higher bills. Okay, that's what I thought.
We put it on the reader board. We put it out with the bills. We just warning accuracy.
Totally. Well, I will say that the reader board is a good one because I read the reader board every time I come to town. I can't help it. It's right there. Okay, great. Thank you very much. And then, are there questions or comments from Mayor King? Awesome. Well, Mayor Rogers, I finally met Mayor King in person when we did our water tours. And I was like, oh, look, in person. It was very exciting. Okay, well, Mayor Watkins, what would you like to share with people today?
Well, I'm trying to. Shannon gave me a list. I'm really dependent on her more so than I think I should be, but you're right. She has been amazing. So of course we were thrilled by the visit, as I said, to have you folks over there and to be able to, I think particularly with the, Representative Noble, to be able to talk to him about the projects that we're getting ready to do with the grant money that he helped us obtain, and having another opportunity to talk to Betsy and Fritz about some of the other stuff that we're working on was just really a pleasure. And also we got to let our public works guys shine a little bit. They're usually out there in the mud and everybody kind of forgets about them. So that was nice to see that. So anyway, what else was going on? Yeah, we are, and this was a thank you actually to you guys, to this group for introducing me to Abisha. But we are working with SEDCOR and the Willamette Workforce Partnership on a sidewalk project, very silimilar to what they've done over in Independence and what, you know, I think you guys did over in Newberg too, Rick, Mayor Rogers. So we're really happy to see that moving forward, because we have a lot of sidewalk work that needs to be done in our town, and people have been complaining about the lack of sidewalks, or I think there's a sidewalk underneath the moss kind of thing. So that's something we're really excited about getting into. And tonight is our city council meeting, and we are going to be once again tackling the new civic building, City Hall civic building. This is something that has come and gone for, oh gosh, since back in, I don't know, 2010, I think is when they started talking about it. And there just has not been either the will or the money or, you know, things to get it going. And we finally are at the point where if we don't bite the bullet, we're going to be down the road looking at either some lawsuits or some federal or state demands that we get some things done, because we're running out of time and running out of space. So that should be an interesting conversation. Our council is pretty much behind it. It's just the greater concern is finding the finding the funding to get it done, because it just keeps going up. So that's most of our big excitement. And just when Mayor King was talking about the holidays, reminded me that for Christmas, apparently my staff has volunteered me to read The Night Before Christmas to a tent full of children. You will appreciate this more by the fact that I do not have children. I made a very conscious decision never to have children. And I'm not sure how it's going to go, but we'll get through it. So we just wish the kids luck. But so those are the things that they're planning for Christmas this year. So that's about it.
That's pretty great. Well, best of luck with it.
Well, as long as the children and their parents have a sense of humor, I think we'll be okay. You know, we'll get through it. I'll bring the
Mayors,
dog.
do you have any pointers for Mayor Watkins?
Yeah, really.
Any tips?
Practice.
I don't bring candy canes. Hand out candy canes.
Oh, good idea. Thank you. Yes.
You'll just get everybody distracted by the sugar.
Well, I may have a dog then, so I was thinking I could just put horns on him and, you know, I don't know. Candy canes is great. That's
Definitely. Well, best of luck with it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
Give it a try.
Now, can we all tune in? Is there a way to tune in there, Mayor?
I think you just have to come over.
Come on. Well, all right. Well,
Yeah,
let us know. Let us know when.
Decorations anyway. Okay, I will do that. It's going to be the same night we do the tree lighting, so
Oh, nice.
I'll
Nice.
keep you guys posted.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay,
Very
just one
nice.
other thing on another note. Very nice to see you at a family place. Last week, was that last week? In
So
Willamina?
long ago, it
So
feels.
long ago, so many days. But in Willamina, that was nice. Great organization, good stuff. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it feels like their work is one of those solutions that's community driven and that takes a long time in the bigger sense of data and statistics to see a difference. But in the lives of the people who are involved, it's immediate. And it's interesting how I think that when it takes a long time for like a state or a county or a region to see a change in domestic violence rates or in graduation rates or that intergenerational trauma, that it's hard to continue supporting work just because it's so long. And yet, I think, at least for me, it's really important to remember that it's immediate for the people who are involved. Like, it's immediate benefit to them.
I think, that's great. That's absolutely true. But the other thing, if, anybody you mention it to, yes, the long term, the projection as to how much of, child neglect and all this can we avoid. But anybody you talk to that says, hey, this is a nursery place for parents and kids, and everybody immediately says, oh, that makes total sense. Of course, that's a great thing. And it, so you're right. The trajectory is long, but I think most people get it, that it's really needed and it's very, very helpful. So, yeah.
And then there's an expansion proposal, right, for Newberg?
Yep. So expansion down by Edwards Elementary, the building had been used for online learning. They're gonna expand that. So that's exciting. That's real exciting.
That's great. And yeah, so I mentioned earlier, but the CDC still has not, but they likely will recommend a pediatric dose of the coronavirus vaccine for children between the ages of 5 and 11. And I think it's either a half or a third the total strength of the adult dose of Pfizer specifically, with a 91% rate of children not getting COVID based upon that. And my understanding is, at least in the state of Oregon, the expectation is that doses will be available by Friday, if not by next week. But we will have, for folks out there in the community who have questions and want to hear directly from the person most knowledgeable about it, Director Lindsay Mann from our Health and Human Services Department will be here next week to go over questions. So if you have questions from people out in the community about it, no matter how the diversity of questions about pediatric vaccines, please share them with me. And then I'll get to her as soon as I can, so that she has some time to think about how to direct us to resources based upon the question. So that's super exciting. It's exciting for our household, at least. How about that? Selfishly, our children are pretty excited because they are in that age window. I do like to note that there are a couple other dates coming up that the Board of Commissioners will be taking some actions on. And that includes, we will be, sometime between December 20th and December 30th, we'll be appointing a person to fill the vacancy left by Representative Post leaving the state. So for Newberg residents, we will have somebody for you. We'll have a name by the first of the year, and they will, ideally, they'll be ready to go in being a source for constituents, even outside of a legislative session. But ideally, they're also going to be ready for the short legislative session that begins in February. So it's going to be a tight time frame for them being just fully in the job. So stay tuned for that one.
How long will that term be for the person appointed?
Yeah, so the appointment process will be just until the end of 2022. Because because House seats come up every 2 years, the May election and then the general election in November of 2022 will elect the person who will then be sworn in. And I know that people often who get appointed then run because they're the incumbent. In this case, it's possible, it seems more likely than at other times that person will be essentially a placeholder, because the district is changing so much this time around. And as a reminder, I will be in the same district as Mayor Rogers, and I will no longer be in the same district as Mayor King. But Mayor King and Mayor Watkins will be in the same district now. And so what that means is that Newberg is joining the rest of Yamhill County in being in two districts that are here and not split across the river into French Prairie and to Kaiser. So that district is getting pulled back down into the Kaiser and Salem area. Whew, all kinds of changes.
That seems a little more reasonable.
It does, yes. Yeah, I mean, it definitely does. I'm glad that we have really just two House districts in our county. It felt like a very cumbersome thing, and it felt like legislators' attention was drawn to lots of different communities that weren't here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could we get the Commissioner Kulla version of our new congressional district?
Yes. So the congressional district, and apparently Ron Noble has not announced publicly, but he was like, yeah. But he's told everybody.
He's told everybody, yeah. So that's, yeah.
So so the new congressional district, which of course then doesn't have an incumbent, so it's a once in a lifetime opportunity for people in our area. And it turns out that congressional district that's new in the state of Oregon is smack dab over us. So really, it starts in if there is an outskirts, there's an outskirt of Lake Oswego. So if you go to Lake Oswego from Tigard, you'll discover the suburbs or the exurbs of Lake Oswego, which are really cool. So southwestern Lake Oswego, Wilsonville, Sherwood, down all of Yamhill County, all of Polk County, French Prairie, so that's everything west or from Woodburn to the French Prairie. So from Woodburn on the east side all the way over to the river, all the way down to Salem, and then encompassing a little bit of south of Salem is the new congressional district. So it's I like to think that, or I like to talk about it as being the highest value farmland. So it's like the heart of Willamette Valley farm country, and the vast majority of the grape ground as well. So it's a pretty cool district, actually.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear your version, because when I glance at the map, it looks like so long, you know, from all the way up here, all the way up down, but there really is characteristics that join that long land.
Definitely. It's like it's the river, right? The Willamette River is really the center of the district, and then it's high value farm. And no offense to Salem, and no offense to Lake Oswego, and no offense to Wilsonville. I just mean that, like, if you think about what the district is, it's really it's represented best by thinking about the area being high value farmland with some really wonderful communities too. And then I did want to note that, oh, sorry, Mayor.
No, I was just curious. You made a reference to Representative Noble. What don't I know?
He's running for Congress. Yeah.
Okay. So he's going to run for our district.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Apparently that I was like, really? Doesn't everybody know? But I just realized that it's apparently not. There you go. Only like 50 people watch this, so it's not going to explode. And I think it's been in some newspapers.
Well, like you said, he said it. I mean, he says it himself. Yeah, I just got to declare it. So yeah, it's not a very well kept secret, but there you go.
These things have a process, right?
Yep. Well, you should know there, Commissioner.
There is a process to this. That's right. And I did want to note too that in the world of dates that are to be keeping in mind is that because there now is the signatures have been turned in for the recall petition against Commissioner Bershauer. That process is that every signature has to be verified, and that process will end on Wednesday of next week. And so then there will be 5 days after that for Commissioner Bershauer the option that she can consider resigning or not, if there's enough signatures that have met that threshold. And then once that period of time ends, then the elections process will begin, and the election will happen if she doesn't resign. The election will happen December 21st. And that's a county-wide election. So everybody who's a registered voter in Yamhill County will get a ballot for that one. And that's it feels very somber and very, very real all of a sudden. I actually don't know what's happening in the city of or in Newberg School District, but I know that that process is moving forward as well.
Yeah, I've heard. I haven't seen it, but I did hear that all the signatures they've reached the threshold that they needed for signatures and passed it. So, and when that will come to elections, I'm not sure, but I think it's well underway. Yeah.
The thing that's so strange, I mean, just from a process perspective for community members, is that as Mayor Roger knows, the school district is actually a lot of area, right? It's considerably bigger than the city of Newberg, and the timeline is set, right? So when the signatures are verified, then the thing happens, and then there's the election, which means that people in Newberg have the potential to get 2 separate ballots for 2 separate elections in the span of a week or two.
Not dull. It's not dull.
No. And I mean, for me, at least, because there's so many things happening in our family life and the farm and Commissioner, if I got 2 separate ballots and I was in your community, I'd probably think, oh, I turn them in at the same time. So weird. Yes. So we're going to have quite the Christmas time.
I just wanted to say, even though it's somber and regardless of what issues, land in our ballots, that I'm really thankful for the democratic process and that we have all these laws, regulations, everything written down in the process to follow. And like you said, those dates and this, and it's not, well, how are we going to do this? Or what's the right way? Because no matter what side you're on, you can look and be like, this is the process that is being followed and has been followed. And so that's something I'm thankful for.
That's a really good point. Yeah, there's a very specific process and it's transparent at every stage. People can come and watch. People are encouraged to watch, although, it's COVID too, so.
Speaking of that, one of the things that I'm thankful for in this process, even though, yes, it's very divisive. It's been very challenging. But the thing is, we're starting to hear now that people are like George Fox has started. I don't know if you've heard this, Commissioner Kulla or Mayors, you might have heard, but they've started about a year ago, a thing called the Civility Project, where they're trying to find ways to actually have civil conversation. And it's interesting that, even with all of this uproar with the school board and the whole thing, people are starting to say, well, okay, I know I don't agree completely with you, but how can we start to talk and find some form of common ground? Can we at least start and say, it's about the kids. That's what we're here for first. Let's start with that and then expand from that. And that is, in a way, is encouraging. And we're seeing it sort of happening organically. It's sort of people are saying, hey, we should bring together and start talking about that, which is cool. In fact, I think, speaking of which, Canby did sort of a community summit recently. And we're going to talk to their organizer, I think, later this week and sort of see how it went, what their intent was, and how it all came out. But something, at least if we get some kind of conversation, some kind of respect established, that should go a long way, I hope.
That's great. And keep us posted on it.
Yeah, it just, a conversation with that. It seems to be that generally around the country that people are kind of starting to pull back a little bit from some of the snarkiness and some of the bitterness that has been so pervasive over the last has been growing, actually, I think, over the last couple of decades. And I'm hoping, we've been pretty lucky in our town that folks have been very nice, but at least, we've managed to maintain some civility. So I hope, as Mayor King pointed out, that we keep honoring that process and keep honoring that attitude, and it grows. So that's just my comment.
Yeah, well, I will say that I just remembered that I was going to mention this, and then it slipped my mind, but it is related, is that the city of Yamhill held their water town hall for city residents. And I'm not very good at estimating, but I'd say that maybe 80 people showed up. in person, or maybe 100. It was all of their fire hall. So all the bays of their fire department, all the trucks were pulled out, and it was so well done by the city. They were really worried that there was going to be very contentious because, they told people they had to use this amount of water when they were using this amount of water. And then it lasted for a really long time. But the city staff did such a great job of laying out, one of them was like, here's what I did. And then they said, pass it up, and here's who I worked with. And they passed it to the next person who said, here's the situation that I was working on, and here are the things I've done since then for you. And they just passed from one to the other. And then they opened it up for public comment. And there were people who were like, we need to address this, or we need to address this. Are you working on that? But on the whole, it was, even when it was insistent, people still maintain a level of civility that is remarkable, given that it's drinking water, right? Like, this is people's water on the line. So I just commend the staff at the city and the city residents for taking it really seriously, and also being respectful of that process. It was fantastic to see, but it really was. It's like, this is the start of a new future for them.
One of the things I found when I actually went on to the city council and then was working up towards mayor was that a lot of the frustration that I heard from citizens was mainly coming from the fact that they didn't feel like they were being fully informed, or they weren't getting all of the pieces that they needed in order to understand what decisions were being made and why they were being made. And that was something that I promised that I would do when I became mayor, and something that I've tried to continue doing, not as regularly as I should be, but still, okay, I'm lucky that people are willing to read a 2-page document that explains why we need a new civic building, but at least they will read it. And there are enough people that will read it that will tell their neighbors. And that has made, at least it seems to me, it has made a great deal of difference in the way people react to what's going on in our city and why something isn't getting done or why something is getting done. So getting the information, getting complete information out is so critical. And that seems to make all the difference. Anyway.
Absolutely. Mayor King.
Oh, just a request that if you guys have any recommendations to promote public engagement, I would love for you to pass them my way. Former Mayor Lehman, he had a town hall here about 6 months back, and we had 3 individuals come join us. And I'm planning one to coincide. We do a yearly city survey that we send out, and I'm hoping to do a town hall where residents can bring that survey with them. So if they want to talk about an answer instead of just circling something, but I want people to feel included, and I want them to want to come talk. And so there's just this lack. So any recommendations, I would love to hear them.
Well, the two things, we were recently trying to reach out, to targeted populations in Newberg. And one of the things that we found that there are 2 things, oddly enough, got people there. One was food, and the second one was door prizes. So literally, and that seemed to turn it around. And we got better, but I Mayor, I absolutely agree. It's really, really hard. You will have people come and talk about, the state of their road in front of their house, but have absolutely zero input when it comes to the budget, at 120 million, and that's, it's a challenge. It's a big challenge.
Oh my goodness, yes.
I made a joke about cookies, but I really wasn't joking, because I feel like they bring people.
No, and not to mention you got those pies there in Amity that people come from miles around for those pies. So.
Such a good point. Oh, sorry, Mayor Watkins. I would just say that when I first joined the Board of Commissioners, I started 3 separate things, which that were just extra. And one was around like the structure of the county government, and the other one was around climate change. And then the last one was like the county's role in homelessness. And they all started with like a town hall around it. And as you can imagine, those are topics that generate a lot of opinions. And so that was, interestingly, a really good starting point, right? Is that there was ferocity of opinion around it, and people wanted to share that. And as long as you can keep people in that civil state, it's a really good starting point. And so I'm like, yeah, have something that's like a real contentious to open with.
Our first town hall was about the water rate increase, and I was really braced for an angry crowd with pitchforks. Not that our residents would do that, but so then when you see on social media or on the street people, you know, being really engaged and wanting to talk about it, and then no one coming to a meeting, just the disconnect, because I'd love to talk to people, and like Mayor Watkins said, have that understanding is really important.
One of the other things I promised to do when I was running was that I would be available in the sense that not just, you know, if you call me, I'll talk to you, but basically being out on the street every single day and walking through the neighborhoods. The last months have been a little bit more difficult for me for various reasons, but I'm trying to get back into it so that every single day I am out for an hour to an hour and a half minimum, and each time take a different route through town so I can be there. And yeah, I'll be doing it in this kind of weather too. And right now I'm working on a letter I've got to get out and start delivering to our new residents. That is a welcome to Carlton. You know, if you have questions, this is who you need to talk to about some stuff. But, you know, I'm happy to stand there and talk to you if you want. And I will be out ringing doorbells too. I mean, that's almost what you have to do. But a lot of times what that does is it gets people at least knowing your face and your name, and then they'll start paying a little more attention to stuff, because at least they realize that they've had a chance to talk to somebody who is listening to them and hearing. And that's one of the hardest parts, is keeping your mouth shut and listening to what they're saying instead of trying to explain to them how it works. So,
well, I appreciate all the insight, guys. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I lost 30 pounds on this gig already, so that.
Well, I have to lead another meeting in 2 minutes. So I want to say thank you to all of you for your insight today and for joining me. And remember out there, you have the opportunity to get vaccinated. And we're going to end this and make it so that people are safe to get out in the community and to go to school without constant exposure notices. Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you all very much. We'll see you next week.